One person is hospitalized following a 3-vehicle crash about 15 miles north of Clay Center Thursday. The Kansas Highway Patrol says a Clay Center man was northbound on K-15 shortly after 4:30 p.m. when his SUV crossed the center line and struck an oncoming Dodge Caravan. The SUV was then struck by an oncoming semi. The driver of the SUV, 64-year-old David Dean, was transported to Clay County Medical Center with a suspected serious injury. 2 occupants in the Caravan, both from Clay Center, had no injuries requiring hospitalization. The semi-driver from Iowa was also not injured. The Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office is investigating the report of a stolen bicycle from Manhattan last weekend. Authorities say the bike was reported stolen March 17th from the 4600 block of Sunflower Slope Drive. It's a Trek Roscoe 24-inch bicycle valued at approximately $569. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Kidd at 785-457-3353 or leave a tip at ptsheriff.com. We've got a photo of a similar bike at newsradiocam.com. The Goodnow House is taking steps to be more accessible for non-English speakers. Catherine Hensler, the Riley County Historical Museum director, told county commissioners Thursday about specialized tours of the Goodnow House that museum staff provided for ESL groups from Manhattan Area Technical College, as well as Spanish classes from Kansas State University. K-State students have been helping museum personnel with the Spanish translation of the Goodnow House tour.
We're hoping that will be turned into an audio tour, so where there'll be certain stations where visitors can just scan a QR code and get both the audio and the transcribed tour in Spanish at the Goodnow House.
Hensler tells commissioners that 2 KSU Spanish classes are transcribing the tour free of charge. The program is being piloted at the Goodnow House because the tour is mostly static and the text and audio could always remain the same, whereas the museum sees regular exhibit and feature changes.
If that is a success, we'll move over to the Wolf House and the museum and do this with some of our exhibits as well. So we're hoping that will be an attraction for Spanish-speaking visitors who don't typically visit our site, and that's because we do not have the resources at this time.
Kansas State University will be hosting March Madness this weekend, and chamber officials are hopeful for an economic boost thanks to traveling fans from participating teams. Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Jason Smith says so far initial numbers reflect similar numbers to football weekends.
Marshall Roselle, who's our CVB director, gave me a list of the hotel occupancies, and people are full. So that is really exciting, and I know in some other areas it's frustrating because there's people trying to have other events, and it's super great to see that kind of vibrancy going on.
Chamber officials are expecting an influx of driving traffic since 2 of the teams, Colorado and Drake, come from nearby states. The Institute for Civic Discourse and Democracy and Political Science Department of K-State recently hosted a discussion centered around elections. The topic for the event was peaceful transfer of power and featured discussions around former President Trump and his claims of election interference. Dr. Nate Burkhead is the head of K-State's Political Science Department.
We've always had people who lost the election challenge the validity of the results. And so I think that one aspect of that is making sure that people trust the process, right? Mm-hmm. And understanding like how our elections officials conduct themselves with incredible integrity, and how so that when you are actually going to the polls, that you can trust that your ballot is being counted appropriately.
That is Burkhead speaking on In Focus Thursday. It's part of a 3-part series the Institute is hosting this spring. The next one will take place in April. Dr. Colleen Lind is the director.
It's been documented that if your candidate doesn't win the election, you are much more likely to say that the election wasn't legitimate. But if you're talking to people who see it differently, that corrects the winning effect, which is, of course, why we do what we do in Institute for Civic Discourse and Democracy. We're trying to encourage people to listen to other people outside of their bubbles.
The ICDD is a nonpartisan institute at Kansas State dedicated to researching, teaching, and improving public participation in democratic governance. The Beyond Tomorrow downtown plan is nearing its final stage, and the public is invited to get a first-hand look at it next week. 3 public open house events are scheduled next week and the week after at Manhattan City Hall. The first one will take place on Monday from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m., then again noon to 1:30 on Wednesday, and from 5 to 6:30 p.m. on April 4th. City staff will be on hand to answer questions and take feedback. Following the events, the Beyond Tomorrow downtown plan is scheduled to be presented to the Manhattan City Commission for adoption in May. Manhattan Area Technical College is anticipating the opening of a new Advanced Technology Center in coming weeks. The building, expected to be completed sometime in April, will be the new home for a host of different MATC programs, including biomanufacturing, electrical training, and more. The primary program housed in the new facility, however, will be construction-based. President Jim Jeanette explains.
Construction tech will be in there with almost twice the capacity for enrollment. HVAC, heating and cooling will be in there, almost doubles capacity. Our critical environment tech, which is our program that we've developed as we work with the people building NBAF and with the people at K-State with BRI. That program teaches students from several disciplines. It could be HVAC, it could be networking, it could be industrial engineering, to work with control systems in a containment environment like NBAF or BRI.
The colleges continue to look at other expansion opportunities, with new programs being added in 2025, 26, and beyond.
K-Man's Morning News continuing with a check of your sports headlines. Good morning, I'm Troy Coverdale. K-State's Aoka Lee has joined Nicole Olney and Kendra Wecker as the only multiple-time recipients of AP All-American honors for K-State women's basketball. Lee was named Honorable Mention All-American by the Wire Service yesterday, the third All-American honor she's earned this season. The Wooden Award National Ballot Top 15 candidate is averaging 20 points on a field goal percentage of just over 62%. She's also averaging 8 rebounds and nearly 3 block shots per game. She'll lead the Wildcats into a Friday afternoon matchup with Portland in the NCAA tournament at Bramlage as K-State plays host to first and second round games.
There's a lot of work that goes into it for a lot of people, and I appreciate the work that they put in because it is a lot of work for our staff, table crews, arena facilities, all those things. It takes a lot of people to put on an event like this.
Cats coach Jeff Mittie on the game earlier this week as his team draws an early tip time tomorrow facing Portland at 3:30.
It's always funny to me because everybody's like, well, why didn't you get this game? And then everybody will be taking off work on Thursday to watch the men's tournament starting at 11 a.m., right? So somebody's got to play the 11 a.m. game and somebody's got to play the 1:30, and TV gets to draft all those times.
There are fewer than 1,500 tickets available for tomorrow's session as the K-State Portland contest will be followed by Colorado meeting Drake. The 4 teams hold practices and press sessions at Bramlage today. Tristan Da Silva scored 20 as Colorado won its first NCAA tournament game in 3 years, wrapping up the first 4 last night with a sloppy 60-53 win over Boise State. KJ Simpson had 19 points and 11 boards for the Buffaloes, who advanced as a number 10 seed to face 7th-seeded Florida in Indianapolis on Friday.
They had 19 offensive rebounds, and that was a key to the game for us, was to limit that to 6 or less, and obviously we didn't even come close. But down the stretch, when we had to, we got rebounds. And I thought, KJ's 11 rebounds obviously stands out.
Colorado head coach Tad Boyle, whose team outscored Boise State over the final 4.5 minutes, 15-4 to close out the win. Jamil Kofer scored all 19 of his points in the second half and overtime as Grambling State rallied from a 14-point deficit to beat Montana State 88-81. It's the first NCAA tournament in program history for Grambling State. The SWAC champions advanced to take on Purdue on Friday night in Indianapolis. Big 12 teams getting underway today. 11:40 will be the first tip-off involving one of them as BYU and Mark Pope take on Duquesne.
We really don't believe in reinventing the wheel rolling into the tournament because this is what we've been preparing for all season long. I think our guys are loose. I think they're full of energy. Certainly they're going to feel all of the juice that comes with playing in this tournament. But I think they're pretty prepared to deal with those emotions.
Also from the Big 12 today, Texas will take on Colorado State at 5:50. Iowa State meets South Dakota State at 6:35. 8:40 tip time for Texas Tech against NC State. And the late night affair is Kansas matching up with Samford at 8:55. Others that we'll highlight for you this morning. Illinois taking on Morehead State. Of course, former K-State assistant Brad Underwood at the helm of the Illini.
I think we're coming into this tournament obviously off the Big Ten championship and feel like it's different than in the last few years. This group is very healthy. We're playing our best basketball. I feel like we're whole.
Also today, South Carolina taking on Oregon and former K-State head coach Dana Altman. We'll have coverage of the tournament getting underway this morning at 10 o'clock on News Radio KMAN. Shohei Ohtani's interpreter and close friend has been fired by the LA Dodgers following allegations of illegal gambling and theft from the Japanese baseball star.
39-year-old Ippei Mizuhara was more than just a translator for Shohei Ohtani. The two were so close that Mizuhara had access to Ohtani's bank account and allegedly was able to embezzle $4.5 million to cover his illicit gambling debts. Online, Japanese baseball fans expressed fears about the scandal's potential impact on Ohtani's performance, calling the incident the worst kind of betrayal. Lucy Kraft, CBS News, Tokyo.
Again, NCAA tournament coverage gets underway at 10 this morning. If you've not turned in your bracket for the Booth Creek Wagyu Bracket Challenge, you have until 11 o'clock this morning to do so via newsradiokman.com.